You know, biologically speaking, humans have an innate desire to learn things. You want to become more capable. Even when you're a toddler and you're probably thinking, please leave the oven open, turn it to 400 degrees so that I can die. To the moment when you look down at your hands and you're like, I'm real, you want to learn things. Even now, you're probably going out of your way to go to school, to go to a job, to make yourself a more capable being. And if you're not, well, welcome to Chud City, population U. But that's not the point here. I was scrolling, looking for new shows to take a look at, and one thing, it made me want to learn, it made me want to explore entertainment, it truly made me feel like a human being. I saw a well-drawn cat sitting in BDSM gear, and it made me question all of reality. Why is this cat sitting here in BDSM gear? And the better question is did he do it to himself, or is the owner putting said cat in BDSM gear? I don't know. I have so many questions, but that led me down the road to this show, Animals, period. And you know, when there's a period at the end, you know it's going to be a little bit serious. But I had never heard of the show, and it has decent ratings, but was it actually good? Is it something worth watching? That is the question that we're going to try to answer today. If you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I upload every single day. You don't want to miss it. If you want to talk about games, movies, and shows with like-minded people, Discord in the description. And if you want some bonus content featuring gaming and anime content, my Patreon will also be in the description. Now let's finally take a look at Animals. Taking a look at the very first episode of Animals, we have the episode Rats, which focuses mainly on rats, and I gotta say, this is by far one of the strangest experiences I've ever had watching a show. I didn't really like it, not even remotely. There were a couple of jokes that did get me here and there, but it's mainly just characters talking, not very well animated. They don't even have their mouths moving the majority of the time. They just like open their chompers. It's the equivalent of if I was talking to you like this. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do some dirty things to you, oh boy. You know, it's just a little bit odd, but I will say there is some charm to it, and it does tackle like certain thoughts of animals that I really wouldn't expect them to react to. Like, take the opening scenes for example. We have a big meaty man just pounding a girl's tuna, just using her up, and we cut to our little rats guys. We got this rat named Phil and this rat named Mike, and they're both just, you know, narrating what's going on with this, and they're like, man, that's a big fat fucking man just using up this tiny little woman. And I guess I never really thought about that. You know, in a strange way, if bugs or, you know, little critters can actually have, you know, comprehensive thoughts, and they watch it when you do the nasty, this is probably the things that they would be thinking. Wow, that man is big. She looks like she's gonna be snapped in half. And even better yet, what would a rat, a creature who doesn't necessarily focus on the pleasure aspect of getting down and dirty, it's all about reproduction, baby. It's all about reproducing and getting those little things running around so that I can know I lived through my purpose. But what if you were that rat and you just so happen to see a human woman take a seat on a man's face?
Onto his face.
She seems to be taking a seat on his face, which is...
Well, it's so weird because I've seen humans sit on things. Normally it's stuff like
the subway
or
What could possibly be the purpose here? I mean, they're not using their pulsating rod to inject the love serum in there to get babies. She's just sitting on that guy's fucking face. And I don't know, I guess I enjoyed their conversation a little bit. It's ultimately not my favorite thing. I mean, it's just rats having a conversation about a woman sitting on a man's face. And then the woman, like, you just hear muffled screaming, and all of a sudden she falls and her neck is snapped and she's dead or something, I guess. I don't know, that was pretty wild. The woman dies, and then we just cut to the rats going to this silly little rat party, and Mike, he's gonna bring a big old cracker because he's the man, he knows what to do, and Phil, he's a little bit of a nervous guy. He's a nervous little rat. He brings some paper plates because everybody loves the paper plate guy, and they have this entire conversation where he doesn't fuck with organized fun. It has to be a silly party. So this guy, I forget his name, but he's another rat, and he's like, hey yo, what are you doing? Oh, Mike, did you bring the cracker? You the dog, you're the man. Yo, you're gonna be making all them children tonight, dog. You're gonna be getting fresh laid. Ooh, you know, just doing all that nice talk. And that was okay. Well, Phil is holding the paper plates, and this guy just looks at Phil and he's like, what are those? And Phil's all like, well, these are paper plates, my friend. Your paper plates, so nobody has to use their hands, and they just treat that like it's a cardinal sin. If somebody brought paper plates to one of my parties, I'd be like, yes! No dishes! Oh my god, you're a fucking madman! I'd dap him up, give him a slap on the ass, and send him in with a fucking big ol' smooch, Like, what else could you possibly need? He brought paper plates, but they're treating him a little bit odd. So they start having this conversation about making babies. And this is pretty much a virgin's worst nightmare. Like, if you're a virgin and you got like sweaty hands, you're wearing like the big fucking glasses that make your eyes big, and you're like, oh god, I'm so nervous going to this party. I've never even talked to a girl besides my Discord princess, of course. Oh, she'd never do anything to me, but it's not very physical. That's kind of the vibe that Phil is giving here. They're talking about making babies, finding a nice rat woman, getting down and dirty with her, and using her up and creating a little baby. Phil, he's immediately lying about this. He's all like, oh yeah, I was doing it with a girl across town. And I like one of the rat's immediate reactions where he's like, where? What? Where? How'd you get there?
I know, totally. I remember when I was making babies, the other day I was upstate, right? And
Where?
Syracuse?
That's pretty far away. Like, it's just so odd. I can't imagine. I mean, in all honesty, I can never imagine meeting a person and immediately being like, yeah, dude, like, I'm so pumped for this party. Like, this other day, I was pounding this vag across town. Like, dude, it was so nice. And for that person to just look at me and be like, where? Where did you do it? Where did you have sex? I must know. How did you get there? Like, it just doesn't feel like a very real conversation, but then again, they are rats, and I feel like people do talk like that in, like, reality, like, specifically frat douchebags, like, oh, dude, you're so cool looking, how many people have you slept with? So that's, like, the vibe the two rats are giving, but Phil, he gives a fake story, they immediately call him out on it, and it's revealed that he is a virgin. They have a good, nice laugh about that, and then, just something you never think about when one of the rats says, oh, I'm gonna go and crank my thang to get it ready so that, I can last longer with all them other rats. And I don't know, I never really thought about that before, about a rat cranking his hog. I guess you wouldn't call it cranking your hog in terms of a rat. What would you call it? Fermenting your cheese? That's pretty good. I'm gonna ferment my cheese before I have to use it on a fine lady. It's a little bit odd, but either way, that was pretty interesting. That got me ready for the experience I was about to endure, and it's not a very good one. I don't know. I was looking at reviews for this show, and it was kind of a mixed bag. A couple people liking it here, a couple people saying it's the funniest thing ever. So far, I am not very impressed. I'm not having the best time. I don't really know what to say. It's just rats having conversations about getting down and dirty with women or commenting on human existence, and it's just not the most fun thing ever. The one thing that I do like about it is it kind of feels like natural conversation. Sometimes they talk over each other, sometimes one person gets cut off. I like natural conversation within show. It helps it to feel a little bit more relatable, but here, I just don't really care. We then cut to our next segment, which isn't even focused on the rats, it's about horses, and like, I don't really know why this existed, because they're like, nay! Oh, did you hear that Greg is, nay, gonna be in a horse race? And they're very jealous of Greg because he's a racing horse, and they talk about this for like 2.5 minutes, and who has the fucking time? Like, I couldn't imagine like coming home and being like, oh gosh, I really want to watch animals, and then I listen to 2.5 minutes of horse jealousy. They don't even say any jokes, they're just like, oh god, I can't believe this guy gets to go and race, we're faster than him, this fucking buffoon. Like, they didn't even do anything else. Like, they're both sad, they're both jealous. Like, why didn't one of them walk up and be like, nay, oh Bruce, why the long face? Like, I feel like we're just missing an opportunity here to give me a good old-fashioned why the long face joke when you have sad horses. Maybe I'm just looking too deep into it, but that is definitely something that I would personally do if I was writing the show. Nothing wrong with a good old-fashioned horse pun. I would have thoroughly enjoyed that. So that happens, and then We cut back to the rats having a nice conversation, and the douchebag rat, he walks up to Phil and he's like, dude, I've been talking to literally everybody about how you're a dirty, stinky virgin. There hasn't been nothing up in those nuts, and I've been using it to curry favor with everybody.
Okay, but just stop reiterating that. We don't need to have everyone here.
Oh, everybody knows. I've been telling everybody.
Really?
Yeah. Ever since I found out, this is the best piece of information. I'm using it as a currency to curry favor with everybody.
Which is so odd. Again, I feel like the first like 10 minutes of this episode was a virgin's worst nightmare. Like, this is genuinely what a sweaty-handed virgin thinks is going to happen if they go to a party. Oh god, if I show up at that door, they're gonna immediately smell that I've never touched a woman. Oh god, what am I gonna do? I can't possibly go in there. Oh no. Like, it's just something that I guess they have to worry about. So, then we have Phil's friend, Mike. He immediately goes and finds a woman and just has a baby. Like, instantly has a baby, names her Rebecca, and is just holding it. We get this whole interaction. The baby even looks at Phil and calls him mama, which just doesn't really help with his masculinity at all. So Phil, wanting a little bit of confidence, he decides he's gonna go up to a woman, and he walks up, and this is probably one of the worst possible interactions you could ever have with a woman. If I ever did this, I would look at my friend and have him shoot me in the face, because there's just no way. They're talking, they're chatting, they're like, yeah, I don't really like parties, you know, like, they make me a little bit nervous, but not in a weird kind of way, because like, I'm not a loner or anything. You know, it's not like I go home and strangle myself.
Son of Sam or anything like that. I'm not like a weirdo. I'm not gonna stay up all night and just like by myself, just sort of like strangling myself.
What the fuck are you even on about? Like, even if you're nervous, that had to come from somewhere. I sense a little bit of autoerotic asphyxiation from Phil coming here, because why would you say that? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, it's one thing to say, like, I don't even go home and grab a tissue and just spank my pancake. You had to say, oh, I'm gonna strangle myself. Really, Phil? Oh, really? You're gonna go and strangle yourself? Oh, man, that's a little bit odd. But either way, the girl is obviously thrown off by this, so it just gets weirder. She tries to get out of the conversation. She's like, you're really cool and all, but I'm gonna go talk to my friend. We have to use the bathroom. And Phil, he looks at this like an invitation, and you know how I feel about unconsensualism, okay? He looks at this woman and he's all like, ooh, going to the bathroom. Perhaps I can watch. Perhaps I could, spank it a little bit, and when you're done, I can swim on in there and just go full in that hole. And yeah, it's a very weird and awkward conversation. It leads to the woman screaming and saying that this man is a dirty, deviant, bad-looking rat that nobody on the face of the planet would ever really want to touch. It's a little bit odd, a little bit freaky. It's not something that you would ever really want to say or hear about anyone. So Phil narrowly manages to escape from this, and boy oh boy, does it just get even weirder. Really, it does. So we have the douchebag rat. That's just what I'm referring to him as. He pounds like 5 women, and good for him. I don't really care very much. We then cut to Phil being on this couch, okay? He's on this couch, and there's a fat-looking, rat woman there, and he's like, ooh, God, she's big. I might need to move on in before somebody else tries to get with that cinder block. Ooh, so he goes in there, and he's like, hey there, baby, you ever been with a macho man? And this woman, she starts, like, panicking, and she's like, hold my hand, and this is where I, wanted to bail. I wanted to just get out of there. I didn't want to do the episode anymore, because she starts screaming, ah! And she's like, pull it out of me! And then I look down, and she's giving birth to a rat! No!
That's just a little head coming out of your butt. You're making babies. I'm putting it together.
Pull it out of me!
Man, this is like my second time watching something come out of our uterus in the past, 2 weeks. First it was Human Resources, that stupid-ass Big Mouth spinoff, and now here, although here it wasn't even as remotely as gruesome, but I watched a rat woman give birth, and Phil is now realizing that he is a horrible person trying to move in on a pregnant woman. Well, he was pregnant, I should say. Ha! Yes, and the family thanks him profusely, so yeah, that's great. At the same time, Mike, he's raising his daughter, and his daughter is growing up at extreme speeds. Like, she's already a teenager, she's like debating if she wants to be a vegan. Her name is Rebecca, and the second I saw Phil wander over there and I saw that the daughter was growing at a rapid pace, I had a horrible feeling. I had a dastardly feeling, you could even say. I was not ready, because in my head I was thinking, oh my god, the daughter's growing up fast so that she could have sex with Phil. No, please don't go down that path. I would love it for it to not go down that path. So they argue for a little bit before Phil leaves, and Phil goes and takes some drugs to hopefully help with the ladies, and that is when he starts busting a move, you know? I'm walking up in your crib, you're a fine looking female, and you see me bust out this. Yeah, you're gonna be riding on this shrimp, aren't you? Yep. Because that was so dastardly handsome. Ooh, yeah. That's basically what Phil does, and it's not attracting anybody, but he ends up running into a female mouse. They start talking. She looks him dead in the eye, and she's like, you know, I'm really glad someone brought paper plates. It really was thrilling and enchanting that someone would go out of their way to bring something so unbelievably important to the party. And Phil has found his woman, and apparently they both have never made babies before. They both have never done it, and they lock hands and they're like, you want to make babies? And that is when my fruition proved to be true, when Mike walks over and he's all like, hey, I see you met my daughter.
Remember I was holding the baby? Yoo-hoo. Phil.
Yeah, no, okay, that's your daughter, Rebecca.
She called you
from
mommy.
Yep, very awkward, and I knew it was going to happen, and I couldn't believe where this was going to go. But luckily, we have a little bit of a space in between that I actually thought was a little bit funny. We cut to another different set of animals going through their own shit with bedbugs. Bedbugs are sitting inside of a man's pubic hair, of course, because I've always wanted to learn about what goes on with bugs inside of pubic hair. I actually think there might be lice now that it's, like, hitting me. I don't know. Either way, they're sitting inside of some hair, being so fair, they're not even going to dare to get out of care. Oh, that was a fucking bar right there. They're sitting there having a nice chat, and one of them, he's all like, hey, what's going on your ear there? Is that an earring? And he's like, oh, you caught me. I got this. How does it look? And then he's like, why'd you do that? Why'd you do that? He's like, it's definitely not because I'm old. I'm young. And then the other bug looks at him and he's like, hey, we haven't really talked since the divorce.
Okay, I got it because I'm young. Because I'm young.
Oh, okay.
And this actually got me to laugh probably the most in the episode, just because I wasn't ready for the lice to even have an earring, and then follow that up with him having a divorce and just having to struggle with that. It was just a very real, random conversation, but they're also little bugs, which made it inherently a lot more funny. I thought watching him break down was hilarious. Call me a bad person. Call the liceman on me to come and just devour my nipples. But yeah, I thought that was pretty dang funny. We cut back to the Phil and Rebecca and Mike, and they're kind of having this conversation, and it turns out that Phil starts dying. The douchebag rat who gave him the drugs earlier, he died because it was actually rat poison. Now Phil, he is now dying, but Mike gives Rebecca the blessing to get down and dirty with him just one time before he passes. What a guy, what a friend, what a beautiful send-off. And Phil, having seen what the humans were doing, he wanted to try it. He wanted just a taste. He wanted just a nibble. This one, it goes out to every single person who's watched this video who's gotten their face sat on. Because Phil, he looks at Rebecca and he says, baby girl, would you do me the honor of sitting on my face? And so we watch Phil take his final breath as he gets a fat old stanky rat ass all over his face, and he dies. And that's the end of Phil. Wow. Unbelievable stuff here. I cannot believe what I have just seen. Oh, no. We get a little bit more stuff with Mike raising Phil's son after Phil passes away. And the DJ at the rap party looking for money. All of it is just very casual conversation, not really worth like talking about too heavily. But that is my introduction in the very first episode of Animals. And wow, what a time to be alive. What a time to experience something like this. I think the majority of it is slop. It's not really that funny, but I will say after like the 11-minute mark, I found it to be pretty entertaining. Some of it's pretty wild. I thought Phil was a pretty enduring character, even though he's a little bit creepy. And overall, even though it's not going to be my favorite thing, and I would say the majority of it is bad, it is kind of so bad that it's good in a way. So if I was to rate this episode 1 through 10, going all the way up, we're going to have a solid 6 out of 10. I think a lot of it is slop, and a lot of it is just stuff that I've seen before, and they're just kind of like doing it. Oh, well, you haven't seen rats do this before. You haven't seen rats have these conversations where instead of virgins, they say making babies. So it's different and it's cool and it's unique. I think it's just fine for the majority. Like, take for example the horse scene that was ultimately pointless in every way. The bedbug scene was only funny because of the mental crisis he was going through, so I guess I just like that scene in general. And Phil's struggle to get a woman, it was ultimately very odd, but still enduring and still entertaining enough to get a solid 6 out of 10 for me. Pretty decent, not my favorite thing, but I would never say it's bad. Taking a look at episode 2 of Animals, this episode focuses on pigeons, specifically homosexual pigeons, gay pigeons, yes! You know, I mean, it's actually a pretty decent story. I like this one a lot more than the first episode. I thought it was pretty gosh dang entertaining. So the beginning of it, it's some, you know, humans playing golf, and they hit a ball, and it lands in a pigeon's nest, and this pigeon just stares at it, and he's like, I gave birth! And it's a male pigeon, mind you. Male pigeons, if you didn't know, don't produce eggs. They don't release a giant throbbing white thing that later goes on to, you know, become a living creature, in case you don't know what an egg is because you're a little bit silly. So we basically follow the story of this guy. He has an entire conversation with his friend about how it's not genetically possible, but he believes that it's his child. They eventually go to this big, like, day where everybody celebrates, like, when their children begin to fly, and he's talking on the step, and this actually made me laugh a little bit, where he's talking to this woman about the egg, and the woman's staring at the egg, and she's like, you know, that's probably not a, like, living creature. Like, it looks a little funky, and he's like, I've just been so alone. I'm so alone.
You can't.
I've just been alone for so long that to finally have someone to call my own.
This egg.
This egg.
And I thought that was really funny. And then you have Mike, and their names are Mike and Phil again. The like mother, the like male that wants to be a mom's name is Phil again. And then the bird that already has a kid, his name is Mike. And yes, it's just the same names. And so Mike is talking to his son, getting him hyped up for his first day that he's gonna fly. He tells his son that as long as he believes in what's in his heart, he could do it. His son is like, I don't know, Dad. I don't think I can do this. And he goes up, he flaps them wings, and he just eats unbelievable shit, breaking every bone in his body. That was thrilling. At the same time, there's this like kind of jerk off dad that orders his son to go do it. His son does really good, but he doesn't really appreciate his son. He doesn't show love, care, or compassion for his son doing the things that he needs to do. He's just kind of a mean guy. So Mike and him get in a bit of an argument there, and they eventually challenge each other to a race all the way to the Statue of Liberty that they're going to do in about a week. So that's pretty interesting nonetheless. I'm all for that. We then cut to some little caterpillars munching on some leaves, doing their caterpillar nonsense, and they see a fine looking caterpillar. I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 asses all up there. However many asses a caterpillar has, and she is thick AF. And I don't know, like, this was honestly such a horrible conversation that it was kind of funny, where initially one of the caterpillars is like, oh God, why don't you come back to my place and see how much I can ooze all up in my bed, which is a horrible pickup line, at least to me. But they don't view that as a bad pickup line, but they view this as a bad pickup line because the other caterpillar, he says, I'm gonna put the cock in cocoon for you, girl.
Come fuck with me. I put the cock in cocoon.
I
I'm so sorry, ma'am.
And they're all like, oh man, that was ass. That was horrible. What are you doing? And I'm like, that was not that bad compared to saying, come up and see my ooze, girl. I'm really lubricated. Like, come on, give the man a little bit credit. So then they have this wonderful conversation about how the next day, tomorrow, the one of them is going to teach the other to do the worm. How thrilling. So we then got a lot of things going on. We have Mike training for this epic race against the douchebag pigeon. He's doing some push-ups, doing some calisthenics to prepare for this ultimate race. At the same time, Phil is questioning who he is. If he had a baby, can he even really be a man? He must be some kind of sexy woman. He gets in a conversation with another pigeon about his, shenanigans, about how, oh, I've always wanted to be a mother. Ever since I was a little boy, they're all like, oh, you can't be a mom. Since I was a teenager, you can't be a mom. Since I was an adult, they say you can't be a mom, and why are you at a school zone? What? That has a lot of implications that I'm not necessarily okay with. That means, one, he's going to a school zone with no child there, nobody to pick up. So is he just like creeping in the bushes like, are you looking for a mommy? That's definitely what some kind of a muscle mommy wanting dude wants. He's just like walking around like, oh, I'm sure there's a really buff woman who's gonna be my mommy. Oh, I need it. That's just what I imagine. But either way, that was pretty funny. That was a pretty throwaway line. So then Phil meets the douchebag pigeon that Mike is going to race, and he's wearing a wig because, he's not really understanding of his gender because he birthed an egg. And so they start getting down and dirty with an awesome conversation about how, oh, you could be my hefty trash bag, lift me up and inseminate me. Ooh. So, yep, now Phil is in a relationship with the douchebag pigeon. The douchebag pigeon does not necessarily know that he is a man yet, but they do get down and dirty frequently, talking about coming on each other's faces. So what else do you need in the pigeon world, really? So Mike, he is going around, going to a bunch of different pigeon gyms, and eventually a guy offers him some steroids, and he starts taking the steroids, getting real big, getting real huge, and he obviously becomes abusive. I've seen this storyline done in many different animated shows, but I think nothing really compares to South Park in this case. This is always a good concept because it is funny. It's an awful thing to actually happen, but in the animated world, you can make it work. In South Park, the best example of this is when Jimmy starts taking steroids and he's like, what are you doing, bitch? You trying to leave me? And starts beating his girlfriend. I feel like such a horrible person saying that that's funny, but that is probably one of my favorite episodes of South Park ever. It's so awful, but it's so funny. And here it's kind of the same thing. We just see a jacked pigeon. Mike is huge now, and he starts being a little bit abusive to his family, telling them to leave, telling them to get out of here. He's only looking out for number one, looking out for these chiseled biceps, just becoming a big meaty man, which was, again, a little bit entertaining. I did like it. So it's just not my favorite just because I have seen that storyline play out a lot. It was just kind of, oh, okay, I guess. So we then cut back to the worms, and one of the worms, he turns into a beautiful butterfly, and the other one is left straggling, and I don't really like this conversation at all because a female butterfly walks over to him, and he's like, oh, hey, big boy, oh, look at that on your face, talking about the mustache, and he refers to the mustache as, oh yeah, it just came all over my face, it came in. I don't think that's how you would lure in the females, If somebody was talking about how good your facial hair looked, my reaction wouldn't be to say, oh yeah, it came all over my face, came real good. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Not even in the slightest. So that happens, and then the worm and him start getting in a bit of an argument and a bit of bickering, to say the least. And eventually it all ends and culminates when the worm, who doesn't molt and become a butterfly, gets to hit his sick worm dance, and so they're all okay with each other. We then cut to the big race day, and Mike makes up with his family, thank gosh, and then all of a sudden a golf ball is hit up onto the stage, and that is when Phil has the realization that he didn't actually have a kid, it is just a golf ball. So he takes off his wig, and the douchebag pigeon's all like, so you've been a man this whole time? I don't really understand, but there's one thing that I just can't change. I've been so happy with you, so happy. I don't want to lose you. So they decide to get married, and we have the first ever gay pigeon couple that I've ever seen, and I'm so unbelievably happy for them. I thought it was going to end in travesty, like he was going to freak out and kill Phil once he learned that he was a dirty, stinky male pigeon, but he was so understanding, and now we got some good old-fashioned gay pigeons just right in the cranium, right fresh in my mind, that I could go and tell my, I don't know, somebody on their deathbed about, somebody terminally ill. I'm gonna go tell them, I just saw 2 pigeons have gay sex, and then they're gonna be so happy about that. Somebody from like at least like 1950 who's not okay with it. Like that, I have to make sure that they're not okay with it. They would have a big problem with it so that it's more funny. But either way, that's the episode. It was all right. You know, it was okay. I liked it more than the other one. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid 7 out of 10. I thought the story was a lot more linear, a lot more focused, and the jokes actually hit. I really liked all the progressions with Phil as a character, with Mike as a character. I thought it was great. I thought Phil's like descent into becoming a woman and then his realization, like immediately just dropping the fact that he was a woman. I thought that was pretty funny. Ultimately, pretty gosh dang entertaining. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Animals is definitely a very weird show. I don't necessarily know what to title this video because although I'm giving these like pretty decent rankings, it's just because it's entertaining, but it's definitely not the best thing I've ever seen. That's the thing about my like 1 through 10 scale. If I was comparing like these episodes to South Park, they would rank a lot lower because they're nowhere near as good as the majority of South Park episodes. That's just the way that it works. But in terms of my enjoyment and overall entertainment while watching these, I did have fun. It does have an element of just being so stupid that it's kind of funny, like just the entire concept of a pigeon getting a golf ball and thinking that it's a mommy even though it's a man, and wanting to birth eggs and wanting to prove that it's a woman so it gets in a gay relationship. That's just inherently so stupid, but it's kind of funny and it kind of works, and overall I did have a good time. So even though this probably won't go down as one of my favorite animated shows of all time, I still had a pretty decent time. And if you've never heard of the show, because I know I hadn't heard a lick, I hope maybe you'll go and check it out. Maybe you'll give me your thoughts down in the comments. Maybe if you have seen it, you'll give me my thoughts right now. Tell me why I'm a stupid piece of shit, and this should go down as one of my favorite shows of all time. Overall, pretty decent. Probably gonna give you a little bit of a clickbaity title like, was Animals the biggest mistake HBO ever made? Something really stupid like that. But overall, I had a decent time. It was pretty all right. So thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end of the video. I know my like conclusion monologues are pretty skippable, but I appreciate every single one of you. Those of you who stick around, you mean the world to me. Thank you so much for letting this be my career. I truly cherish it. I don't take this for granted, and that's why I try to give you guys all daily content, something to look forward to. And yeah, I appreciate every single one of you. Hope you're doing well. Drink some food. Drink some water, eat some food, and take care of yourself. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.